It's that little gay talk show. Houston's hot mess of a podcast. A funny but thoughtful look at the LGBTQIA plus community.
Welcome to another episode of That Little Gay Talk Show. I'm Joel Tatum.
I'm Wendy Taylor, and today we are here with the fabulous Martin.
Oh, thank you.
How are you, Martin? You are the fairy godfather of Montrose.
That is correct. That is both a earned and not earned title. It is official and unofficial. Through many blood, sweat, tears, and lots of impromptu counseling sessions with my babies. Yes.
Very nice, very nice. We actually had one of your babies on the show. We had Preston Steamed. Yes, and I adore him like so hard.
Oh my God. Talented, multifaceted, a pain in my ass. Just one of the most amazing performers in Houston.
Honestly.
Travels so much. Like,
honestly.
I love seeing them across this freaking country. It's stunning.
Yes. Yeah. He really may be my favorite drag king in the world.
Oh, well,
actually.
don't tell the other ones.
Oh, I already have.
Oh, okay.
And they can just deal with it or step up their pussies.
Right.
So, like, you know, that it is what it is.
Shout out to the Dandies and Damien as well.
Yeah. I love the Dandies and Damien. Damien is one of the most magical creatures I think I've ever experienced in a room. Like, they're just like little, I don't know, man. I don't even know how to explain them. They're just magical.
As a fellow lizard person, seeing the Lizard King perform is one of my favorite things to happen. Like, I don't normally have excess cash on me, but me and my partner do this thing where we bring snack cakes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like cosmic brownies or,
or
Swiss rolls or just whatever. And it's always a gag, like every time. By the way, drag artists are usually hungry at performances. Don't bring them liquids because they're completely bound up. So don't make them have to pee later.
Yeah, please don't. Yeah, definitely feed the queens and kings.
Yeah,
and non-binaries.
Starving artists.
And yes, feed them all. They particularly love tacos after midnight and Whataburger.
Oh, don't feed them after midnight. Don't get them wet.
Is that why you wanted to call one segment of the show "Let's Taco About It"? I'm like,
no, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. No, okay, you guys. What I said was for the YouTube channel, it would be cute because of this little cartoon that I saw before about this joke of two tortilla chips having a conversation saying, "Let's talk about it." Taco about it.
Okay.
Isn't that what I said? Taco about it?
Not taco about it. It's just taco about it.
Taco about it.
The pun is taco.
Taco about it. I'm like,
you are really stuck on this joke.
I'm like, this is the corniest thing I've ever heard. Why are we calling this segment this? And what does it have to do with tacos?
I mean, Houston is one of the many Tex-Mex capitals.
I was about to say yes. It's so Texas.
Yeah, it's very Texas. Yeah,
but whatever.
Actually, for I think maybe 15 seconds, I was like, is this offensive? This isn't offensive. It's just tacos, right?
Yeah, it's just tacos. What are you talking?
Because everything is offensive now. And I just need to make sure
that we're not stepping on toes.
We're not stepping on toes.
Oh, I'm sure that in 20 years, we'll look back on these episodes and go, ooh.
I mean, everything in 20 years is offensive.
Yeah.
I'm going to be completely real with you about that. Like, even now, as I'm 35 years old, I'm like, oh no, we got to watch this movie. It's so funny. You guys are going to love this. And then I'm sitting there in a room full of 23-year-olds just cringing the entire time. I'm like, oh no, they're doing nothing but making gay and fat jokes.
Oh, I watched How High yesterday.
Oh, girl.
Okay.
You watched, I'm sorry.
How High.
Classic.
Yeah, How High.
Oh,
and oh my gosh.
Ooh.
all of the stereotypes.
Is that the Snoop Dogg? They went back to high
Not
school?
Snoop Dogg. No, it's the one where Redman
when they go to college?
Goes to Harvard.
Yeah.
Girl, no.
That's a skid, Markabuda.
Girl, no. I don't even know many black people who've watched those movies.
Oh my God. Oh my God, I love How High. But it was pretty funny. But I'm sitting there watching all of these old shows that I used to love, and I'm just going, oh no.
You know what does stand up to the test of time though? Living Single.
Living Single? That's true. Okay. They were so ahead of their time,
compared to a lot of other sitcoms from that era. Let's go back and watch Friends. No, exactly. Like I even as like a child of the 90s, I didn't enjoy Friends, right? Mm-hmm. It was not funny. The entire plot of that show, I'm going to sum it up like this. Everyone has terrible communication skills.
Yes.
Everyone is passive aggressive and they're all guess communicators. So they literally are just like, well, I can't tell them how I feel because they're supposed to guess it. And then that's how conflict arises. Also, Ross is a rapist. And like, that's the entire gag of the show.
True.
It's the only decent character on that entire performance, that entire like 40 seasons of a show was Phoebe.
Yeah.
And that's because she occasionally was just like, you guys are all fucking crazy. I'm leaving. Yeah. I'm going to go sing a song about a cat.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. No, I agree. Actually, I think that was, wow. We should have, you know what? We should script that entire monologue that you just did. And give it to somebody to do for an audition, because that was amazing.
But Phoebe's storyline was the most messed up out of all the Friends.
Yeah.
I mean, she had an evil twin sister who she hated. Ursula.
Yeah.
I loved Ursula.
God, bitch.
Ursula hated everyone, and I loved her for it. I'm like, why is she not on this show like all the time?
She was painted as a villain, but she seriously showed up in that friend group, and she was like, all y'all bitches are toxic. I'm out of here. All of us are Ursula. I'm sorry.
Oh, I am absolutely Ursula in multiple universes, actually. Poor unfortunate. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this time, should we head on over to Wendy's Corner?
Should we? I mean, this is a very special, sexy episode.
It is.
It's a sexy episode.
Because we're going to be talking about some stuff.
We're going to talk about
BDSM.
all this stuff.
I'm actually deep-throating the microphone right now.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay.
He's talking with his epiglottis.
I'm going to have to wear some kind of protection on that microphone, because other people use that. Everybody uses that microphone, sweetie. You don't know where it's been.
Correct. Ooh.
And and by the way, this is HIV Awareness Day or month.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Every day is HIV Awareness Day.
It should be.
Every day.
Are you aware?
Do you have PrEP?
Well, everybody seems to be aware that there's HIV, but they forget about syphilis. You know, syphilis is on the rise in women.
Yes.
In women, 125% in the Houston area alone. Alone.
And also, chlamydia and herpes.
Your antibiotics.
Oh, by the way, herpes. Here's something I found out about herpes. 90% of the population has herpes. They don't even count it as an STD anymore. So, whatever. It's not counted as an STD anymore.
Yeah, actually, I just got it from the Starbucks drive-thru today. I just asked for extra.
Almost every human being on the planet has some form of herpes. So.
No, do you remember? It's literally like everybody over the age of like 32. I think.
Yeah,
like it's a very high percentage. I mean, it's extremely common, and like the shame that's surrounding stuff like that is so silly.
It is.
Just be honest about it. Just be like, hey, I got a flare-up happening right now. I mean, honestly,
can't do anything. No, but that's the whole thing, though, is that people are ignorant about it. They don't know. So there's a lot of mysticism, and there's a lot of like just bad information out there. I know you know. Yeah. Actually, let's talk about that. How do you know?
How do I know?
Yeah. Let's talk about. So, you work for with one of my favorite stores in Houston. It's called the Montrose Forge and Lillith's Way.
Aww.
And they do kink leatherwork and lingerie, toys, anything adult that you can possibly think of needing, they carry and can get for you or make for you custom. It's really a phenomenal service, and it's also gay run and trans run actually too. So all the good things. You definitely want to check them out.
I'm the man.
I'm gonna throw this in here. When we were talking about having Martin on the episode, first of all, I was excited because I thought I'd be surrounded by bondage and all kinds of stuff, because I thought we'd be doing it in the store.
I just brought the light kit.
But then I was told, well, we can't do it in the store because it's too busy. Yeah. So we'll do it at the thing.
And I said we could do it before we open after we close.
Yes. Yeah. And I said, can he bring some items?
Wendy.
So that we can
I didn't know, and it's my fault. I didn't ask.
Wendy. And my co-host Wendy forgot. And here I am sitting here excited at all the little toys and all the stuff that
Joel, you know what? I'll take you over to the store.
Oh, I've been.
Oh, okay.
I'm in Montrose. I mean, I'm not in Montrose.
Yeah, we're in the historic Heights district of Houston now. Although it is
they
called the
moved to
Montrose
the
Forge.
Heights.
If it does make you feel any better, I am wearing a butt plug like right now. Like
hot.
Yeah, thank you.
Hot.
I'm so jealous.
Well, like I spent most of my 20s bottoming, and then like I did the entire community of Houston a service whenever I turned 30. That I started topping because like there's nothing so endearing as a 6'5", broad as a doorway bottom who is ready to break your pelvis. And so like for the past like 5 years of my life, I have been just like strictly top. And then 35 happened, and I was like, you know what? A new day has dawned. I'm going to reconnect with part of myself that I have. And it's so funny because I actually bought like a 5-incher just like to get myself back into the groove of things. Just like a dildo, you know. And because I was like, I just need like some training wheels, you know. Bitch, she was hungry.
Oh,
that went in so easily. It just was like, just right inside me. And then like I got a 7, like an 8.5, and I was like, oh, it's okay, all right, cool. So you asked me, how do I know? How have I learned these things over time? How have I connected with like my sexy time, my education, things like that? One, you have to ask people, because there's this thing.
Yes.
There's this thing called confirmation bias whenever you Google stuff, right? Yes. So, for example, if you Google, does coffee cause cancer? You're going to find a ton of articles written by people that absolutely tells you that coffee causes cancer and you should not drink coffee because it causes cancer. Right. And then on counter of that, if you Google, does coffee cure cancer? You will subsequently find a shit ton of articles that tell you that coffee is 100% a cure for cancer and you should douche with it. Like you should put it in your nostrils, snort the crystalline version of it. It's going to cure cancer, girl. Yeah. So like confirmation bias when Googling stuff is really is something we're all familiar with after COVID. So it is something that I have watched a lot of people whenever it comes to misinformation about things like STIs, STDs, sexual practices, things like that run across because they're like, well, I heard that. And I'm like, where did you hear that? So whenever it comes to information about these things, especially with the education that we receive in this lovely country.
Or lack thereof.
In health class or in like the, it's literally all just like, don't have sex and if you do, you're going to die.
Yeah. And well, also that it's always for straight people. They don't include gay sex, gay safe sex
especially
at all.
Not in a state like Texas.
No.
Let's be real. No. I mean, cause like I remember in like 7th grade health class, during like the 1 week that they gave us to learn about this kind of stuff, one of the other kids in class, clock him wherever he is, girl, I hope you're doing great. Because he was like, what about like anal sex? And the coach, because you know all of our health, health teachers were the coaches, right? And he just got like super flustered, and he's like, "Why would we talk about that?" And he's like, "Well, because like men have anal sex, and like gay people do." And he's like, "I don't know, I think they just like rinse out or something. Let's just keep talking." Wow, you're doing great. And like it was so funny because like I remember looking across the room at that other kid and being like,
oh no.
But I will say that there are so many fantastic organizations in a county like Harris, which do such wonderful work to educate. I mean, like go out on any like Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night in Montrose at our bars, and you'll find they'll like if you're at a show, usually they'll do the shout out for that wonderful guy who's hanging out back there doing instant HIV tests.
Yes, free testing.
Yeah, free testing. And like AHF, by the way, if you're in that area, go to Out of the Closet. That clinic is right there. They will do free full panel
Out of the Closet is awesome. Girl,
the number of times I've gotten a phone call that was just like, "Hey, I got gonorrhea. Well, you might want to go get tested." And I'm like, well, I don't forget, have the money.
Planned Parenthood has always done STF.
Very true.
Yes,
STD
Planned Parenthood is and definitely
for men
definitely
and
support
women.
Them. Yes, Planned Parenthood is
not
for both.
Just for women. It is for families. It is for men and women. So go to Planned Parenthood.
Go to Planned Parenthood, but also I'm glad you mentioned Out of the Closet and Planned Parenthood, both of them, because they're excellent resources. Also, AIDS Foundation Houston, which they just changed their name though. And now I can't remember what it is. I'm a terrible person. But it's like we have so many phenomenal organizations out there where you can get reliable, verified information about your sexual health.
Yeah.
So,
and you can also get follow-up testing, and almost all of them are follow-up treatment, and like almost all of them are based on like sliding scales. So if you're scared to go get tested, if you're scared to find out, 1, don't be. 2, please do. And 3, if you get a positive test, it doesn't end there.
Right.
It does not end there in any clinic or scenario. No nurse is going to be like, congratulations, you've got the clap, get out, you know?
Yeah.
They're going to immediately schedule you for a follow-up. They're going to be like, here's where you're going to come back and get this this antibiotic or just whatever it is that they have to start doing.
Whatever
and,
treatment
the resources are there, please. And I think this is where I get a little deep, dear listeners, that in a Western puritanical society, We have been entrenched from birth to believe that things surrounding sex are shameful and should only be done for like man, women, and reproductive purposes.
Yes.
In a puritanical monotheistic society that is based entirely around capitalism, which is the success of the individual.
Right.
We are not taught from a young age or onward during our developmental years or at any point in time during this, that sex can be for pleasure, sex can be for the individual, sex can be for a reciprocal kind of nature or anything like that. Or we're also during like health classes and things like that. I don't know if any of our dear listeners remember this, that like all of the like, this is what herpes looks like, were late stage images.
Yes.
They were never showing early warning signs of what these look like. They were never showing like early detections of them.
Because they wanted to shock you away from having sex as opposed to educating you.
They wanted to scare you into celibacy. It's mind-numbingly infuriating.
Yes, yes.
Let me tell you how. Quick story. 13. I was 13. Just got done with a health class. We had just watched a video on all the STDs, and of course they were all late stage. Good God, things looked like they were falling off. It was the scariest thing I ever had.
Gangrenous.
Yeah, exactly. And the first time that I had a nocturnal emission, I freaked out.
Oh,
bless your heart.
Because one of the things, I think it was syphilis or gonorrhea. Oh, if you see a discharge, blah, 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 blah. And I'm 13 thinking, I just caught gonorrhea.
Oh, no.
And I am freaking out. I don't know what to do. I see, and by the way, my parents haven't explained to me what a nocturnal emission was.
Of course not.
So here I am. I'm running out to the garage. My dad is on his sewing machine, sewing material because he did furniture stuff.
Oh, work, bitch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I have gonorrhea.
Oh.
And my dad looked at me and he's like, excuse me? And he goes, I think I have gonorrhea. I had a discharge and we had a health class and blah, 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 blah. And he goes, you have to have sex.
You have to have, yeah.
Yeah. You know, did they not tell you that you were supposed to have sex?
No. Yeah.
I'm like,
no, in fact, they said don't have sex.
In fact, they reiterated that heavily.
No, there was all I was just shown was a video with a bunch of diseases on my penis.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Wow. I also don't like I also don't like that they separate the boys and the girls, and that they don't allow both sides to learn about each other's issues. Like that could help so much. Like if you're in a heterosexual relationship and you notice something on your partner's penis that they don't know, but you know, you speak up and say something, then you can get some treatment. But if you don't know because you didn't get the education and they don't know because they didn't get education or just don't care, you're both screwed.
Okay, real talk. Because like as a professional kink BDSM leather consultant, right? Like I work full time in this industry and I love being behind the counter. I love welcoming people in, meeting them right where they're at. You know, this is the shop and the boutique is a zero judgment zone for where you're at as an individual. There are a lot of cishet male customers who come in and they're like, I want to get a toy for my partner. And I'm like, wonderful. Do you think she's more of like an internal stimulation kind of person? Do you think she's an external stimulation kind of person? Do you think she prefers clitoral stimulation, G-spot stimulation? Do you think she's more of a grinder, more penetrate? They have no idea.
Right.
And I'm like, wonderful. Here's a blank chart of the vulva.
Yeah.
I want you to fill in all of the like diagram blanks. I'm going to grade you. You will not be told your grade.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there. Because like if you can't point out to me the anatomy of the partner with which you have been having sex with, sweetie, you're a full grown adult. And, but this is also like I said, this is where like the education system fails us.
It absolutely does. And our parents don't want to talk to us about it.
I am a gay man, and I'm going to be honest. I honestly do know where the clitoris is. I do.
Well done. Well done.
And I wasn't even trying to find it. It just
you were just walking home one day and you said, "Is that a clitoris?"
Sometimes I just learn things by accident. I just happen to be on TikTok and I learned everything about the vagina in a 3-minute video that made me want to go look up everything about the vagina. And I'm like,
vaginas are amazing.
Was it? They absolutely are.
They are.
They really are.
Was it that Animaniacs video where he like points to all of them and they glow up and he was like, labia minora and labia minora?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that's the one. Yeah, I think that was the one. And I wanted to learn everything I could because I'm like, I don't want to be one of those men who... But I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a gay man. Why do I want to know anything about a vagina? Because I think it's important.
Let's talk about it.
I think it's important to know about the female anatomy. There's nothing weirder than talking to a heterosexual man who knows nothing about the
There's also nothing weird than talking to anybody who doesn't know anything about the anatomy of other individuals of our species.
Correct.
Because like as a queer man, like having sex with people with vulvas is not outside the realm of possibility for me. I am attracted to a wide variety of individuals, right? Because vulva does not immediately equate to women.
Correct.
And especially kink is also not immediately synonymous with sex.
Correct.
There are many spaces and instances of play in which like, you know, where you're doing like a rope bondage scene or any like impact play and things like that with spanking or flogging where like an individual has a vulva.
Yeah.
And knowing where to place the rope on like a pelvic tie, you know, is important information for people, at least in my position. And this like this early 2000s thing that like I grew up being exposed to with like the gay male community where they're like, ew, vagina, constantly. I am so grateful that there is this big chasm forming, no pun intended, this big chasm forming in our own community.
He went there.
I did. Between like the queer men and the gay men who have no problem whatsoever and do not think that vulvas are disgusting and do not think that vulvas are like icky, gross, sticky men.
Well, I think it's just based in misogyny, though.
It absolutely is.
It's just based in misogyny. And anybody who denies that that's not permeated through the gay community is crazy. It's crazy. One of the biggest jokes that I always loved playing with my gay friends growing up was telling them I had vagina dentata just to freak them out because they were like, oh, vaginas. I'm like, mine'll bite yours off. Like straight up.
Show me your teeth.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's just so crazy to me. Like somebody who says that they love me so much would turn around and talk so badly about a part of my body that I have no choice but to have. And one that I don't particularly like having anyway.
Right. As one who has observed a vagina in real life on many occasions.
In the wild.
On many occasions. I'm a gay man and I don't understand that. I have seen more vagina in my 55 years on this planet than any other gay man that I know.
Really? Probably more than some straight ones.
Oh, they were... Oh.
Tell us everything, Joel.
Because I can tell you, growing up, and this goes back to the misogyny thing. Growing up, I had so many times I would hear from women, "You just need the right vagina, and it'll change you." And I'm like, first of all, ew. Secondly, and then I had to correct myself because I'm like, wait a minute, I shouldn't say ew because the vagina is a normal thing.
No, it's not ew because of the vagina. It's ew because...
The ew is because of the mentality of corrective rape.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Corrective.
That is corrective rape, and that is where the ew comes in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So seeing one with hair, one without. Seeing one with hair. Oh my God.
It's a bearded clam.
This is the Westminster Dog Show
this
of vulvas.
This was only a few years ago, and I was like, we were out at a party. We're out at a party. She had too much to drink. She had already been flirting with me the entire evening. And all I wanted to do was get her home, get her in bed, so she can go to work the next day and she'll be fine.
Yeah.
I come home, get in the living room. I said, go take a shower, relax, do your thing. I'm going to go in my room and change clothes, and then I'm going to go to bed. I come back in. She is sprawled out naked. Legs up in the air. She says, Joel, come get it. And I'm like, first of all, come get what? I don't know what I'm doing. I wouldn't. Why would you want me to come over? Why would you want me to do stuff to you that I don't even know what I'm doing in the first place?
Oh, she wants the conquest.
She wanted.
It's the conquest. It's absolutely the conquest.
Yeah, for every 10, you actually get the a free smoothie.
Yeah,
well, she was drunk, and you don't take it. I'm like,
yeah,
no, I don't know.
No, okay, like to counter that, the number of straight men who've done that to me too, right? The whole like, no, I'm so straight, I'm so masculine, I'm not into, which like, first of all, by the way, if you are a straight dude and you immediately launch into telling me like how cool you are with gay dudes after you find out that I'm gay, that's a bit late because I kind of feel it's the same energy of like a white person telling a black person how cool they are with black people. Like, oh, my dad watched the Cosby Show.
Yeah,
because like
I have a friend.
I knew you were cool with me because you were being cool with me.
Right.
And it wasn't until after you found out I was gay that you started getting real weird.
Yeah.
But the number of straight dudes who, after that diatribe, that insistence, once they hit a certain level of inebriation, will be like, you know what, let's do it. And I'm like, no, because you're drunk and also straight, and you just made like a whole song and dance routine for like 3 hours in.
No,
thank you. I'm not down to go down.
Ew.
Yeah.
And as
I don't want to end up a dot on a map. Like,
no, you do not.
God.
No, you don't.
For life? For you?
Yeah.
For your... no.
No.
Straight men don't know how to properly bathe themselves. You heard it here first, folks. Like...
Yeah.
No, okay, so I have a friend who is a professional consultant as well. She recently had an individual who came to talk to her because he is his hitman, has a penis, and he kept one of the first topics that he wanted to talk about was like the fact that his partner's vulva and vagina often after sex smelled and had like a particular odor. And the first question out of her mouth was, what are your hygiene practices?
Correct.
And he was stumped because he thought that this was an issue that completely was on her to fix. And so my friend, shout out to Lady McAllen, gave him a thorough rundown on the pH balance of the vagina and the correct cleaning procedures for your penis, your glands, your shaft, everything, and how the amount of bacteria buildup on you, good or bad bacteria, can absolutely change and affect the pH balance of the vagina, thus resulting in
strange smells.
Vaginal discharge, any number of things. And like the shock and awe on this man's face. And again, this is a grown adult, like, so yeah, this is kind of where like my job meets people both at their most confident, but their most vulnerable. Because especially with men, we've been ingrained from a very young age to just not ever want to be wrong, because when you are right, it's the reward center of the brain that's being activated. Whenever you are correct about a subject or topic, it is all the pleasure zones are being hit. Yes, I'm so correct. This is a good boy vibe, But whenever you are wrong about something, it's all the shame, it's the fear, it's the guilt, it's everything in that kind of area of the brain that's being activated. And people don't like that feeling.
No.
So often seeking out answers for stuff that you could potentially end up being wrong about, or questioning what you're wrong about, your preconceived notions, your prejudices regarding this kind of stuff. It's not something that people actively want to do.
No, it's scary, and nobody wants to feel that shame of being wrong, or God forbid, knowing that they have actually hurt their partners in the past without knowing. Because it's hard to forgive ourselves sometimes for doing, even though you don't know, and now you know you can do better, but it doesn't heal, like the whole thing. One of the things that I always try to do, there's two euphemisms I would use for my kids, and I'd be like, throw a plate on the ground. What happened? It broke. Now say you're sorry. Sorry. Did that fix it? No.
Now get the super glue, bitch.
Right. So
sorry, I don't have kids. Don't take my
Right. So it takes more than just an I'm sorry, and you can't always put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Correct.
So, it's just one of those things that learning how to live with yourself after realizing something like that can be very difficult for a lot of people. I've had a few friends that have had that happen, and my personal experience with hepatitis C was horrifying. And I actually found out because I donated blood every 6 weeks. And because I donated blood, I found out that I had hep C.
Yeah.
It saved my life, because I went and got treated and just happened to get it in a time and day and age where it's actually curable, which is amazing, because it used to be a lifetime disease.
Thank you, Pam Anderson.
Right? For real. So I've been cured for 6 years now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But running around for those 6 weeks, I had 2 partners.
Yeah.
And we were safe, but it was still one of those like, oh my God, I have to call them and tell them that I have potentially ended their life.
Yeah.
It's never a good feeling to do that. And I was safe and I did everything right. And I still got sick.
Right.
I still got sick.
Right.
So when we take a break here, which we're going to take a break here in just a couple of minutes, I want to get back to what you were talking about when you were talking about safety, because I want to talk about safety in the BDSM community, especially when you're a woman.
Yes.
So I think we should get back to that when we come back from break, because I really want to get into sex talk.
Yeah. Oh, we're there.
Sex talk.
We're there.
Because Martin just told me something earlier, and I'm like, I had to look at him because I did not realize how tall you were.
Oh, yeah.
I'm 6 foot, and I did not realize how tall you were when you were coming into the room. And then when you sat down and you're like, you know what? I'm just going to go. I think you said you were going to go through your top phase or your bottom phase. You were in your bottom phase for a while.
All of my 20s, yeah.
All your 20s.
I basically, I came out as a Gaby, and I was like, I am a bottom. You're welcome. And I was an active bottom. I was not a pillow princess, you know. But yeah, and I also was a sex worker during that time as well. But whenever I hit my 30s was whenever I decided that like I was no longer going to terrorize the gay community as like a 6'5" broad as a doorway top. Because
because I had a 6'6" bottom myself not too long ago, and that was terrifying.
We will break you, girl. We will break you.
Terrifying. Okay, it was the most fun I ever had.
But shout out.
Oh my God.
But shout out though, because the men who are like 5'7", okay, great. You know, we're good for you. Okay, you're like 5'7" to 5'9", you're like the average height of American males. Good for you, girl. You can shop anywhere you fucking want to. Move along.
Right.
I love giant men, and I love short tops. Short kings, y'all fuck like kings. You have something to fucking prove.
I
love you guys.
Short kings.
I love you guys so much.
But I like short kings as bottoms. I like short kings as bottoms. The only reason I like, and I'm versatile.
Yeah.
And I've gone through your journey. I was a top I started off as a bottom.
Right.
And then I was playing around with the gentleman, and he says, you know, you have the penis for it. You should be a top.
Good for you.
And I said, but I like being a bottom. He goes, you have the penis for it. You should be a top.
See, these are self-imposed expectations placed upon other people where he was just like, you're a big dick bottom. What are you doing? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I guess I'll try it for a little while. Turns out I liked it, but not as much as I like bottoming.
Right.
And then the more that I topped, the more that I wanted to bottom. And when I wanted to bottom with someone, they would always be like, no, sweetie, you're a top.
Right.
And I'm like, no.
I am what I am.
I'm literally...
You don't get to tell me what I like.
Exactly.
Right. Period.
Right. And then I would go through the whole spiral of, fuck, if I'm going to get sex, let me just do him so I can get it.
Right. Right.
Because I'm never going to see him again anyway, and I don't want to have this argument. I just want to have sex.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Because sometimes you just want to have sex.
Yep. I get it.
When you haven't had it in so long, when you've been starving to death. I mean, death.
I can't relate.
Oh,
I know you can't relate.
No, it's not because of like excess amounts of sex. It's just that like I'm actually giving a talk about this later. I mentioned this to you Wendy, of like reclaiming your sex and your kink and stuff in recovery. Like, because I do have over 6 years completely sober off of all alcohol, substances, everything like that. Thank you. You don't have to applaud. You don't have to applaud. Thank you. I stopped sucking dick for dope many years ago. But like, what I will say is like I'm very mindful of like my motivations for wanting to have sex or wanting to like dom somebody. So like I don't usually, if like I am that starved, there's another aspect of my life in which I am starving, and like turning to sex as a coping mechanism is not usually something that I indulge in too heavily, because it's just like shopping or overeating or anything else that like sex absolutely releases the dopamine, the serotonin, the adrenaline, all of that. And for those of us in recovery, that can be rather dangerous. So yeah, especially if you live the life that I lived anyways. Right. But I will say that imposing your ideas of what your partner should be or what this random individual should be based on their physical type is so silly. And it actually goes along with heteronormative ideals.
And it might have been also, I'm not saying that it was, but it also might have been slightly, a little bit, just a tiny bit racist. Because he
that too. Oh my God, let's talk about white guilt in relation to like worshiping of big black cocks. What? Oh
actually, let's talk about it when we come back.
Yeah,
we have so much.
Do you guys need to pee?
Yes.
Yes.
Bring in this.
I've had a lot of tea, so let's do this.
Yeah.
We'll be back after this break. Thank you.
Thank God we don't have video. And we're back.
Dun, 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 dun.
And we're back with Martin from Montrose Forge and Lillith's Way.
Yes.
And we're going to talk more about BDSM and some kink and some other stuff. But I had a question that I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about BDSM, safety in women. And how do you coach women who are coming into BDSM for the first time?
You mean? I'm assuming you're talking about being a submissive.
Yes, being a submissive.
Okay, so and not all subs are women. Yeah. Like they're. Well, it's really important to be a safe sub. And to be a safe dom.
I think what I'm going for is for with the way that men are acting today, to be in safer situations when it comes to. Maybe I'm asking the wrong question.
You are.
Yeah.
I know I'm asking the wrong question.
We'll just put it this way. It's like,
I like to think that how women navigate rules of safety and that stuff when they're dealing with a male partner who might be dominant.
Mm-hmm. It's always about
even
communication.
Submissive. It's really about dealing with men when it comes to BDSM, whether it's dominant or submissive.
I'm going to argue with everything you just said there. So,
okay,
when we look at the history of BDSM, let's talk about Cold War era America. We're coming out of World War II. The population of America has been decimated, and the population of the world has been decimated by a really, really terrible war, right?
Yep.
So then the propaganda of women begins of you need to be domestics and housewives and start making tons of babies because the population of a country is its economic and its military powerhouse, right? So we see the propaganda of the happy housewife. Then we head into the generation that raised the radical 60s kids. And in the radical 60s, we had this wonderful thing called the contraceptive. Birth control, right? But even in the 1950s and the 1940s, you had the rise of a very popular figure that was not really legally allowed to be distributed, but was still distributed, and that is the dominatrix. Yes. You see her in ballet slipper heels and wet look materials, and there are like whole psychological studies done on why straight men are so attracted to like PVC and latex and rubber and like wet look candy coating on cars, and it's literally just because of like they equate it at like some limbic system level to the glistening of an aroused vulva, right?
Interesting.
There's so many studies out there. Long story short, the history of BDSM, of both women reclaiming their power in their reproductive rights, in their sexual prowess, in like their manifestation of their inner goddess, is equal to what we've seen in the queer and trans community and how we interact with like power exchange and everything like that within our kink and BDSM circles, right?
Yes.
So whenever you talked about like navigating as a woman in kink and BDSM, as a cisgender man, I'm not going to tell people how to do that. But what I will say is that there are protocols and guidelines and suggestions that I can give to any dom or sub who's looking to get into or like BDSM 101 or start interacting with the community, right? Whenever we start talking to people at the shop, and they want to know more about, or they want to start like rubbing elbows with the community, one of the first questions out of their mouth, because it is 2023, is like, are there any like online forums or like websites? And I don't know if it's just because like I'm a child of the old school in many, many ways. And I was also trained by a lot of old professionals in this, that no, there are not. Like, yes, there's places like FetLife, but you are going to have to go out into the community at various like what they call munches, which is like an afternoon lunch where these groups meet up and they like rub elbows with each other and get to know each other.
Have classes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's of course also Kinky Tuesdays, which happens every single week at Numbers, one of the coolest fucking clubs in Houston.
Yes,
Shout out you guys, where they do shibari classes and where you're going to actually get a chance to meet a lot of people in the community. Now, whenever it comes to navigating as a potential sub or a potential dom in this community, you are going to have to use your own best judgment whenever it comes to judging the personalities of other people around you.
Yes.
And naturally, as like with like personalities or things like that, you're going to run into people who like may say one thing and then do another later. And definitely whenever it comes to what you said about like navigating as a sub, I recently did a reel for the shop, which got really popular on Instagram. And it was talking about how like there seems to be a misconception that like doms just call the shots and subs just do what they're told, right?
Subs are in complete control.
Like, well, you know, and what's so funny is that like as part of the reel, I actually like smacked the camera a few times. Was like, no, like that's a bad, you know. And I said the sub sets the limits. And then apparently I upset the doms because I forgot to mention that doms can also absolutely set limits.
But
the point that I made in a follow-up reel where like there seems to be a misconception that doms cannot set limits. So I like in the spirit of fairness talked about how yes, doms do set limits and boundaries as well in play. One of the points that I was making though is that it's a lot easier to set limits and enforce your boundaries or like maintain your boundaries whenever like you're the one doing the whipping.
Yes.
So whenever you're navigating this sort of thing, never go over to a stranger's house who wants to tie you up and spank you.
Right.
Whenever it comes to any, like even 7 years in this industry, 4.5 years working for the same business as a dom and as a former sex worker, whenever it comes to scenes or like kink play, BDSM play, bondage, sadomasochism, anything like that, all of what we do takes a long time to get to. These are conversations that we have face to face. They're conversations that we have in public settings, things like coffee shops, or even in like, you know, there's witnesses around where you talk about like what kind of fantasies you're interested in having. What are your yeses? What are your nos? What are your maybes? What are your hard nos? And what you're interested in looking at, what you're already kind of experienced with. And all of this is set long before we ever get into a play session.
Yes.
Long before I ever get you on my bed, bound up with a thing in your ass and me whipping you and calling you a bad boy, you know?
Right.
And this is all stuff I think that people coming into this or looking at it from an outside perspective think is very boring.
Right.
Because the pop culture representation and media representation of BDSM and kink is like 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes.
Which is, by the way, an abuse relationship.
Yes.
It's not
yes.
kink. It's
no.
not BDSM.
No.
And many people will also end up in abusive situations because of that, or because they think that as a sub, I am just supposed to do what I am told, and my boundaries were disrespected, my physical limits were disrespected, but this is just what I'm supposed to do. And then sometimes when they express that at like meetups and things like that, other subs will hear that, or like me as a dom, I've heard that before, and I'll be like, no, sweetheart, like blink twice if you're okay.
Yeah.
Like, because what you're experiencing is not a dom sub dynamic, it is actually like an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think whenever it comes to this sort of stuff, you will definitely have some trial and error, just like whenever you're making friends, just like whenever you're dating. But hopefully, if you have a good enough established community,
yes,
that is what is so important about this, because we, just like the queer and trans community keeps an eye on itself, just like most minority communities keep an eye on themselves, in the leather community, in the kink community, anything like that, we usually tend to keep an eye on each other. We try and make sure, like, is this a new person? We like ask, like, who was your dom? Who did you mentor under? You know, that sort of thing, just so that we can kind of keep an eye on and listen to. And it's the same thing as like believe women,
right?
Believe the sub. Whenever they tell you that something is going on and it sounds fishy to you,
it probably is.
It probably is, you know?
I experienced a situation once where I went on a date with this guy and things were going really well. We were going out several times. Finally decided it was okay to get intimate with him. And it was one of the scariest moments of my life because he tied me up. And everything was fine. Everything was going fine. Everything was normal. My boundaries were being respected. The next thing I know, he pulls out a gun.
Oh.
And just wanted to show it to me. Oh. Just so that I knew that he had it.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah. And I was like, I'd like you to untie me.
Yeah.
And he did. And I was grateful that he did. But I was like, I'm going to go ahead and go.
Yeah.
I said, this was not... This doesn't feel safe. And he let me go. He was very respectful, but that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't even know why you bothered to bring that up and why did you wait till I was tied up?
Very that. 48 hours later.
Yes. Yeah. But one of the things that I do to always keep myself safe was I always let somebody know who I was going on a date with, first and last name, 100%. Where I was going. I would have my location turned on my phone and shared for 24 hours.
Yeah.
So some people I just share my location. Like my best friend always has my location. My mother, my children always have my location. But that's kind of the stuff that we have to do, even when they don't have any red flags, even when everything looks normal and sounds normal, something like that can happen. And it's terrifying.
Right.
It's genuinely terrifying.
This goes for every gender too. Cause like even like a former sex worker or anything like that, whenever I was going up to like meet with a John or anything like that, I would message or text like, this is the address that I'm going to. This is whenever I left my apartment. This is my last known whereabouts. And like, I remember, bless his heart, he's now like one of my best friends and he's like way better versed in this kind of stuff, but he is a straight dude, who later came out as pansexual. But whenever I texted him this, I was like, by the way, I'm going to meet up with a guy and like, this is the address. Like, this is where I'm headed. This is whenever I left. And he's like, why are you sending me all this? And I was like, because it's a dangerous world. Like, also, like Houston, Texas has and continues to have an extremely high rate of sex trafficking, and we have a lot of murders going on. This is the 4th largest city in the nation.
Yes,
so like whenever it comes to one, buddy system. 2, if you're going out to a munch or to a social or anything like that, bring your friends, even if your friends are quote unquote vanilla. Which I don't like that term.
Oh. I know we talked about that. Actually, you said vanilla is a delicious flavor and it goes with everything.
Okay, so like, this is my thing. If you guys don't know this about me, many of my friends do, many of my family do. I actually have a very long and extensive history of working in horticulture and botany and entomology in the field. I do not have any formal degrees, so please do not, like, oh, he's a scientist. I'm not. I worked in the sciences, but gardening is, the science of horticulture, right?
Right.
And vanilla is the second most expensive spice on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
It comes from a flower that blooms right before it dies, and it is highly farmed because of how much it is used, but it is a complex flavor. Like the chemical chains that form the flavor of vanilla are beautifully complex.
Right.
So whenever it comes to people telling me like, our sex is very vanilla, I go, wonderful. Are you nutting? You know,
right.
Like whenever it's opposite gender, cisgender, hetero couples, or whenever it comes to same gender or like opposite like gender presenting couples, or really anybody in the queer, trans, straight, hetero community, whenever they tell me that their sex is vanilla, I'm like, okay, I'm not here to judge you for having like a satisfying sexual experience.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just here to sell you like the hot fudge, whipped cream, and sprinkles to make this scoop of vanilla ice cream your new favorite dessert.
Right. So that's actually one of the things that I wanted to bring up in this topic was kink shaming. And listen, we're even guilty of it on this show. Poor Joel had...
But I don't think that's kink shaming, though. I think that there's something called...
No. We did, though. It wasn't so much the consent thing. It was just we actually kink shamed the race play thing.
As you should.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with.
Yeah. But that's the topic. I'm just like, where do you draw the line, right? Like, so...
Okay.
Oh, honestly, Wendy, I didn't want to bring that up. I felt like we have talked about this now on 5 episodes. And I feel like the one episode that I really wanted to talk, I should have talked about it on was this one, but we talked about it so much that I'm like,
okay, but who better to talk about it with than me?
Right.
Like, hi, everybody. Okay, so I actually just had this discussion with the person that I'm doing the talk for later on this evening of like, where does it draw the line?
Right.
What is it based in? You know, is it like community driven? Is it religious driven? Is it society driven? And all those things are kind of the same thing. It's like 3 disgruntled Pomeranians in a trench coat. Welcome to welcome to society, right? So kink shaming. Kink shaming, I think, is a term that was manifested because of online discussions. And I think sometimes whenever it comes to this, that there's this lovely saying that I love to tell people whenever they're terminally online, and a lot of people use this. It's go outside and touch grass. Because like I am a professional kinkster. Okay, I've been in the scene for a very long time, and I love what I do. But you're trying to tell me that you do not kink shame people. Fantastic. Okay, you're going to tell me though that we're at a play party, and in the middle of this play party, someone's going to lay down on the floor and another person is going to take a squat over them and take a dump on their chest. And you're not going to be like, that's shameful.
Right.
You know? So there are certain things collectively as a community that I feel we should start shaming people for. Again, I don't like this. So for example, even whenever it comes to like lines of consent and stuff, I have not listened to the other episodes. I don't know what you guys discussed on this. When it comes to the lines of consent, for example, there are feeders. I don't know if you guys are familiar with these. Feeders are people who love to feed people. They like to get them obese. But there's also like this line where feeding becomes basically like morbidity. It's where you can feed someone to the point where their health becomes so compromised that they can die.
Yeah.
If both parties are consenting to this, but one person is still being harmed, that's where I'm kind of like,
But is that a kink or
that is a kink?
That's a kink.
That is a kink and
what
a
is the
fetish.
difference?
It's both.
Is there a difference between a kink
so
and a fetish?
A fetish is something that you are in and of itself attracted to that is like outside of the norm, and kink lies within that, right? Yeah, please. But so one of the cases that I like to cite whenever it comes to kink shaming is I think it's the Rottenberg murder. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but basically it was a guy in Germany who was on a cannibalism fetish messaging board online, and he had been hunting for somebody to consume the flesh of a willing participant to do so, right? And then eventually he found one who was completely consenting to do so in a fetish and kink mentality. No sex involved, just like cut me up and eat me. I want that to happen because it's my kink, you know?
Yep.
It's my fetish, it's my dream. And the guy was like, well, I want to cut people up and eat them. German authorities were stumped because one, up until that point, like technically consuming human flesh was not like 100% illegal.
Right.
And two, they were like both people consented to this. Like they have like documented messages and everything surrounding this. And that case dragged on for ages.
Yeah.
So as a culture, though, all of us are like, you ate somebody.
Right.
That's not okay.
Right.
No.
But at the same time, people are like, but I don't want to kink shame people. I'm like, but you know, if I pointed you at that case, you would shame them. So like, there are lines where like the question that my friend posed to me was, is it causing people harm? Is it mutually consenting? You know, and there are also some things where like, you can shame somebody in your mind for doing something that maybe you don't agree with. Like, there are some people who don't understand, like, the pet play with, like, puppies and kitties and things like that. And they think that it's, like, akin to bestiality, which, you know, honestly, work, bitch. I love that you just show your ass like that.
Right.
But whenever it comes to, like, them asking me, I will go into the depth of, like, the pet play, the dom, the sub, the headspace that pet play people get into, what it's allowing them to do, the freedom that it gives them to, you know, shrug off their responsibilities in a capitalist society and just be a puppy dog for a while. You know, shout out to my puppies. I love you guys so much. Long story short, though, there are people who have seen things in real time at events and stuff like that. Like, for example, like CNC, like consensual non-consent, and it's playing out in front of them. And they're like, I feel like we should go help them. And I'm like, it would appear to me that this is something that they both agreed upon prior.
Right.
So if they actually needed to, there would be a word like, I don't know, zucchini or like Ruth Bader Ginsburg or something being shouted, which
Joel
is
Osteen.
what we call, Joel Osteen, great one, because nothing kills the mood faster than a Texas mega pastor.
That's it.
Yeah, safe words, right?
Yep.
This is why we have these things, because this is another video that I made recently for the Montrose Forge's Instagram was the importance of safe words, because, you know, but that's, you know, another side topic. But, whenever it comes to kink shaming, I think that it has its place in our community, but it shouldn't be used and it shouldn't be completely disregarded.
Right.
All good things in moderation, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you have your Puritans who are like, it's all shameful. And those are the ones that were like, fuck you know? And then there's the ones who completely go the opposite direction. One of my favorite people who actually helped me along my journey of coming to terms with like my interests, my sex, everything like that, was one of the least shaming people on the planet.
Yeah.
He had a client for a long time who was a fecophiliac.
Yeah.
And he was like, I mean, he just wants me to have a certain diet and then I poo-poo in a bag and then he eats it and I get paid. I don't actually have to be there. Now, eating fecal matter is shamed in every culture and society. Why? Because it can make you sick.
Yes.
Having this in your home can cause a number of different diseases. Having it on you can have a number of different diseases. Why is water sports or like being peed on not so bad?
Right.
Because urine is sterile.
Right.
It's not sterilized, but it is not to get you so sick so quickly. So some of this is steeped in our religious upbringing. Some of this is steeped in medical stuff. I see both of your faces right now. You're kind of grimacing at me.
No, I'm right there with you.
I'm learning.
Yeah. And like, this is the complexities of like,
yes, there was some slight grimacing.
There was fecal. And that's okay.
I mean, we're talking fecal and I'm like,
we're talking people who feed people to the point of being so obese that they die. We're talking about people who want to eat people and people who want to be eaten. We're talking people who did not put their phone on silent before this podcast started.
Exactly.
Which is something that we shame people for. And we are talking about people who like to be, and there's, you know, that's kind of where we like police, again, going back to like the safety of doms and subs inside of the community. This is where we kind of keep an eye out for stuff like this. Because if we also shame them too far, then they isolate too far off the grid.
Right.
So whenever it comes to like the Rotenberg murderer, the Rotenberg cannibal, and I think it's Rotenberg. Is it Rotenberg? I don't know. But like he,
it is Rotenberg.
It is Rotenberg, which of course it was Germany.
Right.
But like the messaging board that they were getting together on and talking on was so far off the beaten path of the internet that you would literally have to know where to go exactly to find it.
If I remember, this story was late 90s, early 2000s.
And it dragged on until recently. Yes. So yeah, like I think that there are some times where like, it's not like I'm going to be wearing like a white robe and ringing a bell behind you and being like, shame. You know? But there are moments where I will shame you, even as somebody in the community, because I'll be like, what you're doing is not safe practices, or what you're doing could potentially put other people at risk, or put yourself at risk. And I want to just check in with you and see that what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they're kinks and fantasies. Other times they are underlying serious mental health conditions.
Yes.
And blurring the two of them is actually very damaging,
dangerous,
both to the kink and BDSM community and to people with mental health disorders.
Yes.
So
yes, big time.
I came across, stuff by accident. I came across a term called immoral kinks, which I was like, oh, okay, that must be what race play is, and a couple other things that you just mentioned would be considered immoral kinks. Now, unfortunately, I did not couldn't find to get further into the article. I couldn't find any more information.
I don't know.
But that's
I guess
what they were calling it.
Yeah.
Before this podcast, before we talked, I would have said kink shaming anything over 2 consenting adults would be a bad thing, but that's not where I draw the line anymore.
Right. So
it's not where I draw the line.
With 2 consenting adults who are harming nobody.
Right.
Where like, yes, you can feed somebody. Because like I have seen some men out in the scene, and the first thing I will say out loud is, I just want to take him home and feed him a biscuit.
Yep.
And my friends are actually the ones who are like, Martin, you're a bit of a feeder. And I was like, no, I'm not. Shut up. I just like cooking for men and then feeding them and then petting their belly while they're eating my food. Oh my God, I am a feeder.
Yeah.
You know? And that's okay. But like force feeding them until they are at the point of being so overweight that their health is in critical state and then they die and then moving on to your next sub
is a victim.
That's a victim, right? Yeah. So like where does the line get drawn between like this is a kink activity and this is a serial like perpetrator of crimes, right? Know? So, and I think it's finding people to cut up and eat them. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
Finding people to cut up and eat is
so
it's for just our Scourmy hammer.
For the last 5 episodes, we've been going through the drama of my accidental foray into race play, which was not consensual.
I don't mean to be presumptuous, but I'm assuming you are black.
Right. Yeah. That's what most people. I'm not palm colored.
Yeah. Oh, you don't know that?
Sweetie, it's a TikTok.
You don't know that?
No,
palm colored.
I don't do TikTok.
Okay, well, it's a social media thing.
So, like, shout out to Lillith. I grew up on the Southwest side, and like it's not just black people in Lillith. It's like a bunch of like West and Central Africans as well. So, like, even the West and Central Africans are like, "What the fuck are you pointing at your palm for?" Yeah, no, because they'll point at their palms to me, white people, and then point at the back of their hand to me, black people.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah.
So
no, sorry. Continue about the race play thing.
So we accidentally got caught up in race play.
Oh my God.
Which we didn't consent to,
right?
Because we didn't know anything about it. It was a growler, one night stand kind of thing. You know, he asked me to come over. I said okay. I'm like, you know what? I'm going through a little thing that you mentioned earlier when I'm trying to no more drinking during sex or before sex. Right. I don't. I'm going through therapy, realize that it's not healthy.
Good for you.
We are having some, I cannot believe I'm saying this, some internalized homophobia that we're dealing with.
That's fair.
Oh, yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Which I never thought I would ever say out loud.
That's part of your journey, sweetheart. Share it. Speak on it.
Oh my God. That felt weird. I felt something when I said that. I don't know why.
Because you're scared, but it's okay. Yeah. Like
to admit that you have some internalized homophobia.
But we all do, and the more we all admit that, the easier it'll be to solve it and find cures for it. Because the reason we self-hate so much is because of the external things that are put on us. It's only normal to think that some of that would be internalized. Like I know for a fact I've internalized capitalism because my self confidence is based completely in my self-efficacy.
Yeah.
And if I'm not making money, I'm not worthy.
Yeah. You know, when my father had the gay talk with me, the one thing he said was, I don't care if you're gay, but I'm going to have to ask for one request, and that is you be a top, not a bottom.
Wow.
To which I was 16.
Not bottom shaming you.
I was 16. This was 1987, 88. And my only thought was, first of all, what does he mean by top and bottom? I didn't even know what a top and bottom was. It wouldn't be years later that I would be like, wait a minute. How did my father know what a top and bottom was?
Oh,
that's a weird discussion.
Well, I mean, it was 1988, sweetheart.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, a lot of cocaine back in the 80s.
Well, this was also a man who thought Boy George was a woman for the longest time.
Oh.
And he made a comment.
Boy George isn't a woman?
No.
I'm joking.
You mean the person named Boy George isn't a woman?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that Boy George. She's gorgeous.
My grandfather did the same thing.
That's a guy, Dad.
Yeah.
It's a guy.
Yeah.
What about that other group with all the women with the makeup? That's Duran Duran.
Yeah.
He was very confused during the 80s.
You know, because back in the day, men were men and women were women.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The iconic gentleman singer, chanteur, Grace Jones.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love Grace Jones.
Me too.
That was a little bit of a time when we were going through an androgyny phase.
You don't say.
And I always felt like that if AIDS hadn't gotten in the way,
oh, girl,
would we be having to talk about
We'd already be done over. No.
So we have talked about the roadblocks that occasionally face our community and the queer and trans renaissance that was happening from basically the 70s until the beginning of the 90s, and the amount of setbacks that we had as a community, right? Because all you really have to do to destroy a community's culture and history is wipe out a single generation of us.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So like whether or not that was a certain amount of Ronald Reagan or whether
if he didn't instigate it, he allowed it for a long time.
That's my
Too
favorite.
long.
That's actually my favorite urinal is his grave. Yeah. Anytime I'm in town, I save it all up. I don't need the rumors that like Nancy Reagan was a throat goat. She's still useless to me.
I don't care.
Trying to make Nancy Reagan cool again because she was good at sucking dick. Care. I'm like, you know who else was good at sucking dick? Everyone. Okay.
Exactly.
So what?
God damn.
So what?
No. So like, I know you guys have talked a lot about the race play thing. So there are actually various like taboos within the taboos, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, I will also say that a lot of these things are trend that fall out of fashion. So let's talk about things like uniform fetishism within the leather community, right? This is something that like when we look at generations of people like the silent generation, the traditionalists, the boomers, and Gen X, uniform fetishism was a big deal. Of clean cut lines, police, military uniforms, things like that. Commonplace. You'd go to leather events, they're still around, right? Younger generations.
Tom of Finland. My favorite books were Tom of Finland.
I have them framed on my wall.
I had coffee table books, giant coffee table books, men in uniform. So like whenever it comes to the millennials and Gen Z, however, this like, first of all, ACAB, and second of all, like, why would we want to dress like them to feel sexy? Yeah,
right?
Right.
So, like, they're completely opposite of that.
Yes.
Also, the increase of puppy play. I don't know if you guys have been out and about in the kink scenes.
Oh, they're everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
I love the puppies. And, like, I am both a handler and, like, I have, like, daddy vibes as well, right? I used to be, like, an older brother to a lot of the punkers in the scene, and now that I'm, like, 35, I've officially reached, like, daddy stage. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's the Burt Reynolds mustache.
Could be.
Maybe, you know.
Could be.
It could be also the fact that I'm a fucking giant and I love fisting people. Anyways,
you know the great thing about that is that you're at daddy stage.
Oh, it's wonderful.
But I would be your daddy.
Yeah, you are.
I would.
That's the phenomenal thing about it. Is like whenever I was in my 20s, I was bored at everybody, right? And then like I'm in this golden era of do not be afraid, my children, of turning 30 years old, because the greatest thing happens to you when you turn 30. You are in the best era of your queer life, because the daddies call you boy and the boys call you daddy.
I loved my 30s. I thought my 30s were the best. Now that I'm in my 40s, I'm like, wait, it gets better.
You are basically just 20s, but with more money.
Yes.
Oh God. Plus you have like healthier boundaries. And
yes.
Like, I love going out with my fellow 30-something-year-olds because I'm just like, okay, guys, this was so great. We had so much fun tonight. It is like 10:30.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to go out to like get food and then go the fuck home?
Yeah.
Because we all have like, you know, bills to pay and like, my back hurts.
And I'm like 40 now, so I just walk in and go, hey guys, I'm leaving.
$2,000.
Yes. Give me $2,000.
She put on a bra, give her $2K. Yeah.
Give me $2K.
Do you remember the first thing you ever said to me whenever you met me, by the way?
No.
Okay, so like you were photographing one of our collections for the Montrose Forge. And I wanted to tell this on the air because I love you so much. I met Wendy at a very lovely photo shoot, and she took one of the most fantastic pictures of me. I was in a leather jacket.
Oh, with
the hat, the sling was behind me. I had two pups on chains.
It's a really good photo,
boys. Yeah. Matthew and that other guy whose name I can't remember. Charlie. Oh, God. Wherever you guys are. Actually, Matthew's currently in Palm Springs, I think. So if
fabulous.
I'm going to tell him to listen to this.
Yeah.
But, so like you took that picture of me, but the first thing you said to me whenever I walked in, because I asked Chip and Tank,
I said you have a great look.
Yes.
Yes.
You were just like, oh my God, you're so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I will tell you right now, like when you are me, I don't believe that whenever you first tell me that. because like you can work in the scene for a very long time and people will just say that to you because they're like buttering you up or they want to make a connection or like establish themselves on the hierarchy and the rungs, right? But there was something about how genuine you were whenever you said it, because you were just like drop jaw, smile, sparkle in your eye. You're like, you have a great look. You are so gorgeous. And I was like, I am going to be your best friend.
Well,
you could literally tell me to curl up in your lap right now and just like feed me snacks. Like all of my, like I will tell you right now, Wendy is Dommy Mommy energy. She's just so sweet. Like, and there is a difference between like the mommies and daddies, the sirs and madams, the misters and mistresses, right? Like the energy that like as a dom we exude. And like the titles kind of go along with it, like ladies and sirs, you know? And like it was just immediate. I was like, oh my God, I love her so much.
I fell in love with you immediately. I just did. I love everybody over there. But I think there was even a time I was messaging y'all on the Forge page and I was asking a question for me and my partner now. And I was like, well, tell everybody over there that I love them, but especially Barton. And you go, I am the Martin.
When you are a small queer trans owned and operated business that has like very few employees, right? Like we're Houston based. We've been making custom leather content, apparel for over half a decade. You are kind of like Renaissance people, right? Like anybody who works in small businesses, you know this is true. Like I am, yes, the leather consultant, the fetish consultant, all that stuff. But I also like am the social media PR person. I'm the social media manager. So like any messages that you send to like our Instagram, our Twitter, our Facebook, I'm going to try and get to them. But like, it was so cute. Cause you're like, tell everybody I love them, especially Martin. And I was like, I'm Martin. That's me. Oh my God. I love that. Yes, absolutely. I will tell him.
It was fun. It's always been fun to work with y'all over there. And I always just appreciate, you know, personally, I have never felt safer in an environment surrounded by sex objects. I have never felt more honestly seen. I remember when y'all started making custom t-shirts for pronouns. And you had reached out to me and was like, hey, I know that you had just come out as non-binary. Would you like one of our custom shirts? And just all you have to do is take a picture in it and we advertise. And I was like, I would love one. And I got the she, they in the non-binary flag.
Yeah, because we do them with your pronouns and with a flag of your choice. Right?
And you get to pick which flag. So of course I shared it and was just like, I've just never.
Yeah, and you showed up first of all that day full of energy. You just shaved your head. You wore, I think it was a golden crown. One of the leather crowns.
It was a purple one.
It was a purple one. And you seriously like you just rock on hands, just with your tongue out, and I was like, scene. Everybody go home. Like,
it was amazing though. But it is such a special feeling to walk into a place and feel like you're really seen. Just who you are is really seen and respected. And it's just such a gift. So I tell everybody, go to the Montrose Forge, go to Lillith's Way. You'll get just a phenomenal experience. And it's almost like shopping with a show because the people who are there to help you, i.e. Martin,
and Frankie, shout out to Frankie.
Yes, and Frankie are so fun. They're so fun.
I like to say we're eccentric. Yeah. No, like I will also say that like when people come into the shop and they are varying body types, right? Because I don't know if you guys know this about Homo sapiens sapiens, the species. We're not all a waist size max of 36 in men's pants. So there are many leather companies that do not tend to provide like
36. Bitch, you're fat.
Exactly.
34, 32, girl.
Exactly. You know, so like one, we're owned by bears, and two, like it's a queer trans owned and operated business. So we're very like size friendly. If we don't have it currently off the rack, we'll try and order it for you. But a lot of like the harnesses, the wrist restraints, the ankle restraints, the collars, the leashes, the crowns, all that is made in-house by Chip and the apprentice, who's very rapidly becoming not the apprentice, but
fabulous,
extremely talented Christian. And so whenever it comes to people being like, I don't know if it's going to fit me, I'm like, sweetheart,
we're going to make it fit.
We're going to make it fit. Because I'll have some big boys. I have some thick women walk in there and they're just like, I don't know if this is going to work for me. And I'm like, sweetheart, just trust me.
Okay, y'all. So just so y'all know, just to give y'all a little personal information, I asked them about fitting me for a harness and he just said, what are your measurements? And I gave him my measurements and he said, we can make that work. And I'll just tell y'all, my bra size is 38H.
Exactly.
So, it's, you can do it. You can get if they can fit me, they can fit you.
Right, like we're here for you.
You're an H?
I am an H for holy shit.
I thought you were more like a double D.
Okay.
Oh, that's cute.
Can I tell you?
That's cute.
Like working for so long in like lingerie, leather, things like that. There are so many men who come in there to buy lingerie for their partners,
and they don't know.
And I ask them, I'm like, "Do you know her bra size?" And they go, "She's like a D."
I have,
and they like hold their hands up in front of them like they're cupping her breasts. And I go, okay, knowing full fucking well she's not.
Yeah.
Because D and double D are like, if you have big boobs, that's literally what they think you have, right?
Yeah.
So like whenever, and then they go, well, I have a picture of her. And I'm like, well, unless she's like a prize cop Marlin that you have hung up next to like a measurement chart, because like, congratulations on your big old catch. I can't tell you what her sizes are. So to any person who is out there listening right now, this is not just for men. This is for anybody listening. If you want to buy your partner stuff, but you don't want them to know that you are looking for stuff in their sizes for like fetish gear, just open their fucking closet.
Yeah.
Just
look
at their underwear sizes.
if you want to be real sneaky while you're taking her bra off, you can look at the tag and make a note. Just there's lots of ways you can figure this stuff out if you just use your brain.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I know. Well, that's asking a lot of Americans.
It is. It really
Shout
is.
out.
Yeah.
He's asking a lot of American men.
We're taught,
I'm very critical of men.
We're taught to test, not to think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no critical thinking for you until you get to college.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No critical thinking until you learn what a vagina does.
Well, if you think critically, then you would question everything. And if you questioned everything, then this whole thing would come falling down.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I think now is a good time to take a break, and then we will come back with the game.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Evil laugh every time.
So it's not that made me have to poop. But you know, like that pre-diarrhea feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I need to find a toilet like the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, that
Okay, well, we're taking a break.
Yeah.
So.
Well, no, that just gave me like a little bit of like a in my lower abdomen. Yeah.
It's going to just have fun with it.
Yeah, when you go on like a dip with a roller coaster. Yeah.
Okay, you need to go to the bathroom right now.
You don't actually have to poop. I'm just describing what happened, the sensation that my body just had. I don't actually have to poop. I don't want to end every break.
You need to go.
I don't. Gotta go.
Yeah, we're going to end every break. Well, the first break was number 1. The second break is number 2.
Right. And the third break will be number 3.
Ooh, weird. I don't know what that is, but I can't wait to find out. We'll be back.
Break, I'm going to be at home playing video games. I don't know what y'all talking about.
Video game.
That's my new obsession right now. We'll be right back. And we're back, and we're in the last half hour of the show.
Oh.
And we're here with Martin. Martin. And you know what? Before we get into game time, and I cannot wait till we get into game time, because this is probably going to be one of the most interesting games we've had.
We'll see.
I think so, because Martin seems like she's that girl.
I'm a yes and.
Yes and.
Yeah.
But I wanted to end the absolute... Now, for the listeners out there, I know y'all have heard it like the last 5 or 6 times that I am beating my phone on this table. I'm going back to this table. So, Martin, let me tell you a little story that happened to me before I got back on the show.
Let me put my readers on real quick.
Okay, put your readers on.
Go ahead.
Girl.
Go ahead, girl.
So, here I am. I'm bored at home. You know, I had just gotten done with a therapy session. I was feeling pretty good.
Okay.
And I said, you know what? I need a man today. Just for the evening.
Sure.
Nothing wild, nothing, out of the ordinary.
So you opened up that LL Bean catalog.
So I opened up Growler. Because I had told, you know what everybody always says? How come you don't use Grindr? I'm 55 years old. I am not using Grindr.
I do think there's an age cap for Grindr.
I think I really do. I think after 40... You're done.
Actually, I think it's all ages now because it's so many bots. Like,
and honestly, I don't feel like being shamed by a twink.
I don't. I don't feel like having way too many people ask me, "Do you party?" With like little like ice crystal emoji or like a cloud and shit. I'm like, girl.
Ew.
No shame. Okay, like no shame. By the way, like if you are currently struggling with drug addiction, please do what you need to do. Work through your demons, seek your help, that sort of thing. Because I have made it through, and you can too.
Yes.
But anyways, please continue your story. I'm sorry.
And Wendy, do you realize that the last 3 guests we've had have talked about mental health and alcohol issues? It is not on purpose. It is not
it's permeated through our community, though.
Absolutely. And it's permeating through our show, which I think is interesting.
Yes.
Because, like I said, I am going to get into the story real quick, but it's just, it's really interesting how we are really starting to view drugs and alcohol and gay society and the LGBTQ community.
Well, I don't think that's very fair. I talked about cannibalism and pooping on people.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, I'm not worried. I'm not really worried about meeting somebody on Growler who is going to want to eat me literally.
You never know. The night is young, darling.
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
I know. I'm not fixing to get on Growler tonight, but you know.
All right, so you were on Growler.
So I was on Growler, met a nice gentleman. Nice home, lives not too far from here. Mm-hmm. We were chatting. We had a nice, lovely chat. He said, would you like to come over and play? I said, yes, I would.
Okay.
I came over. He was very nice. Handsome man. A little bit older than me, maybe about 55, 56.
Okay.
Good health, good shape. Everything was working. That's important for a man over 50.
It is.
Make sure that everything is working.
Circulation is important.
Circulation.
Make sure to stay hydrated and stretch.
Exactly. By the way, I did pull a muscle, but that's me trying to bottom, for the first time in God knows how long. But anyway, so we are. I'm. Wendy will tell you I'm horrible at telling stories. I have a hard time getting to the point, but I will get to the point. So we get in bed, we have a good time, blah 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 blah. We're in the middle of doing it. He says, "Hey, do you mind if I get a little nasty?" I'm shocked at the statement because you've already said some pretty borderline things to me, but I'm having a good time, so why not? How much nastier can it get? While I'm inside of him, he calls me the N-word. And says, give it to me, my favorite nigger. And I'm like, what the hell did I just get caught up in?
Damn.
Yep.
And he goes, have you never done race play? And I'm like, did you ask me at the beginning?
Right.
So, yeah, it was a moment.
It sure was.
It was a moment, and I felt like we should have talked about it beforehand.
Okay. Yes, absolutely.
I felt like that I was left out of a conversation that should have happened before I laid down with you. Before I put myself inside of you.
Yes.
I don't like just to make suppositions about the motivations of other people for their behaviors, but I'm going to go out on a branch here and assume that the reason that he did not have part of that conversation with you prior is because he most likely thought it would be considered offensive, as it is. So here we are.
And he justified it by saying that his boyfriend liked it. And I'm like, that's great, but
your boyfriend does not speak
your boyfriend
on behalf of all black people.
Correct.
So it was,
as Ashton likes to say, blackness is not a monolith.
Yeah, so, absolutely not.
So it was a little bit of, I have cut the story down because I'm so tired.
We've talked about a story. We are never going to mention that story ever again.
Like,
listen to it again.
But it goes back to what you were saying earlier when you were talking about alcoholism and sex, and how we sometimes find ourselves in situations where someone else dictates what's going to happen, instead of asking us for consent on how it's going to happen. And I realized when sitting in therapy how many times that has happened to me. That this was the first time that I saw it happen without alcohol being involved.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
It hits different.
I do this a lot.
How many other things have I let slide?
How many other things did I let slide because of alcohol?
But so if you don't mind me, this is something that I was discussing with a cohort of mine the other day about the difference between like boundaries and rules, right? And like law, right? So like boundaries is something like, I don't like this, therefore I am leaving, right? That's something that I can control myself and I remove myself from a situation. I cannot say like, I don't like this, you have to stop it. That's where we start doing rules, right? And law is usually something that is dictated by like whole communities and like countries and things like that. It's usually voted in consensus, right? And like boundaries is something that most of us as like alcoholics, addicts, anything like that, or people who were struggling with that did not really have good experience or good practice with was defending or even drawing lines in the sand of like what we will and won't do. And I also will say with things like that going back to what I said about how things go in vogue and out of vogue, conversations surrounding race and race play, if you were to mention that to younger generations now, they would all be like, what the hell is wrong? Why, how and why did that happen? But whenever it comes to talking to, and this is in my profession, this happens quite a lot, that like there are instances where conversations like that happen with people who are from generations previous to me. There's also this kind of a common question that I get from leather men who are coming into the shop to shop, and they ask about like local places because they're new in town, and I go, well, there's this bar, there's that bar, and the first question out of their mouth is, do they let women in? And I'm like, yeah, they do. What?
Yeah.
And it baffled me for a very long time until I remembered from the long ago, the time before, that there was absolutely exclusivity of anybody that they considered to be female or female presenting, or was a cisgender woman, or anybody with a vulva, you know.
Yep, that's why I didn't go to Ripcord for the longest.
That didn't change until the early 2000s.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't go to Ripcord for the longest time because of that. In fact, until somebody invited me and I said, am I allowed to even go there? They said, yeah, why wouldn't you be able to? I said, because I didn't used to be able to.
And, like, there's also this hyper masculinity that happens a lot in the leather community, even where like the because you have like the Ursas and like the daggers and the leather dykes and things like that, and like the dykes on bikes crew who are very like hyper masculine, which is, you know, an expression of their femininity and the whole spectrum of gender. You know, that's a whole other podcast. But whenever it comes to like women fitting into leather community and leather scenes, the ones who tend to present themselves as hyper masculine tend to be a lot more readily received in those playrooms and play areas because they are so much more masculine and express themselves in such a way. But it's where we tend to have like the girls and the slaves who are more hyper femme that they tend to get dumped on.
Right.
And like even now I know, like whenever we were talking earlier about like kink shaming and how that pushes it to points where we can't keep an eye on it, you know? That's the sort of conversation where I bring that up, where like, yes, race play absolutely is unacceptable in 2023 and we should be shaming this. But then what that does is that presents an environment where you yourself find yourself in, where you've gone over to connect or hook up with somebody, and halfway through with dick inside this individual, they're like, do you mind if I blow something on you real quick? And you're like, I guess. And then they go, expletive deleted, you know, and this is where we find ourselves. So it's like, should we go so hard as to completely isolate people from our communities? No, but should we try and explain to them? Yes, but explaining to somebody why something is wrong does not always work, because being wrong feels bad.
It does.
Exactly.
So, they have to be receptive to it.
Which is odd, because we just had a conversation in the car. We talked about success and failure.
Okay.
And to me, in order to be right, sometimes you have to be wrong.
Yeah.
Because that's how you learn. Being wrong means that you now have to take the time to learn about what you were wrong about, and then come back and go, okay, so I learned about it. So let me tell you why I feel about this and this.
Right.
Yes.
Because now I've taken the time to learn about it. It's when people sit there and go, I don't care, that's what I heard, and blah, 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 blah.
Well, that's just who I am.
Yeah.
Or that's just who I am.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's how I was raised. I'm like, I don't care. Fix it.
I hate that one.
You have the control to fix it. Fix it. Quit making excuses and do better.
Yeah. No, I will tell you this, that one of my favorite things in the world is to be wrong. Oh, I love it. It is such a gratifying. I don't know if it's just because like I'm a glutton for punishment, but like I will say that like whenever like any group, because I am a cisgender, queer, polysexual man. I identify with the gender that I was assigned at birth. And whenever a person from another minority or another group of people pulls me, first of all, takes their unpaid labor, their unpaid hours to pull me aside and be like, hey, quick conversation I want to have with you. What you said just then or what you did just then, I'm going to let you know that's not acceptable anymore. I go, thank you so much for telling me. You did not have to tell me, and you pulled me aside to tell me because you either love me because you're my friend or because you felt the need or the duty to do so, which they are not required to do.
Right.
So therefore, I'm much more grateful about that one too. And like whenever it comes to situations like that where we do offer that for somebody, it is such a volatile, it's a dichotomy of reaction. They can either be so recipient and grateful and things like that. But don't do the white girl thing where they're just like, you are so brave right now. Thank you for telling me. Just thank them. Absorb it, own up, acknowledge, and apologize.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you have to do. You don't have to start over-explaining.
Yeah, don't Drew Barrymore it.
Yeah, because then you make it... Yes, but then you make it about you. You become centered on you again.
Yeah, because, I feel bad because I think Drew Barrymore is now going to be the poster child of white women tears. From this point on.
She was the poster child of children on cocaine. She can handle being the poster child.
Girl, no.
I mean, her kitchenware stuff wasn't doing that well. But no, it's the same thing whenever somebody, whenever you misgender somebody and then they tell you, like, actually, it's they, them, or she, her, or, you know, and then you say, I'm so sorry. Correct it. Don't apologize because then that places the burden of comfort on the other person. If a black person comes up and tells you, like, hey, what you said there was fucking racist. Don't do that. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then they have to be like, it's okay. Like, first of all,
it's not.
It's not. So, like, I'm a PSA to the queer, trans, or any other minority community: stop comforting the bigots. And if you do correct them on something and they start over apologizing, be like, and just move on. Because I'm done I'm done comforting people that I've had to correct for stuff. Or
just apologize and move. I had to learn that too because I ended up accidentally centering myself, just apologizing because I did feel bad. I felt horrible, but I didn't realize that by making it about me feeling bad, I was again removing the original offense.
Right.
And not trying to make it feel like it's okay because I feel bad that it happened.
Absolutely.
And it's not. So, you know, I've learned, like, even yesterday, I misgendered my friend. It didn't happen on purpose. It was just, she, and then move on. And it was over and done. It's just part of it. I misgender my dogs. It happens. You know, like, you just say, ooh, I mean he, and then you move on. But when you sit there and you just apologize, you become this martyr, and it's so gross.
Shut the fuck up.
You know what? This is actually a thank you moment because I'm still in the process of learning pronouns, making sure I get people's pronouns right.
Okay.
And sometimes I misgender people, and I constantly apologize for it. And I don't know why I do that. I should just correct it.
It's shame.
I said, I'm still dealing with
it's guilt and shame.
Internalized homophobia.
Yep.
That, oh my God. That, to find that out in therapy, it, like I said before, it's eye-opening. It explains a lot, but it hurts to me, a little. It hurts.
Yeah.
Because I always thought I was, like, super gay.
Yeah.
You are, though.
I couldn't possibly hate myself.
I couldn't possibly, but when you sit down and you talk about things, and when you figure out how I navigated being in the straight world, how I navigated being in the gay world, how I navigated masculine and feminine, the masculine and feminine roles, because it's like, oh, well, you know, I try to be masculine when I'm hanging out with my straight friends. And then I can be a girl when I'm hanging out with my gay friends. And I'm like, I don't like, it's too much.
It's so, there's something similar
to exhausting.
What we call that in the autistic community is called masking.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting. It's exhausting to try to be something that you're not for all of these other people all of the time. Just stop doing it. Just be you.
Jungian psychology talks about archetypes, right? The mother, the healer, the father, the teacher, whatever the archetype that we currently have to embody or evoke in this situation in order to survive the situation, right? Or to present ourselves in this situation in a way that is perceived as acceptable in order to benefit or profit off of the environment that we currently find ourselves in. And I think one of the things that most people in healing centered spaces talk about this. People out there beyond that door may not. Is that the mask that you're describing, Wendy? Whenever we start really looking, we start unboxing all of the, and it's not a YouTube video, girl. There's some shit in there. You know, that mask starts to slide off. And in some of us, we realize that there is a mask there. We take it gently off our face and we go, "What? How long have I had this on for?" Other people, like myself, it falls off my face and shatters to the floor in a million pieces. And then somebody tells me to look at it and go, "Now say you're sorry."
Yeah.
Or somebody will pick up the mask and go, you put that right back
on.
You can put that right back on.
You can put that right back on.
Put that right back on.
Yeah.
And you have to look at them and go, no,
I really can't. It's in pieces. It's going to hurt me if I do.
And I'm tired.
Oh, nobody talks about that either. How exhausting it is presenting ourselves to the world as some vision of what the world wants us to be.
Oh, why do you think I disappeared for 2 years?
I mean,
I literally
disappeared
for 2 years, and it's the best thing I ever did for myself.
People up and spank them.
Yeah.
With their consent.
Speaking of,
ready?
Are we playing the game?
We're ready. Yes, we're gonna do short. It's gonna be short. Okay, so I'm only gonna do 3 rounds.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Would you rather? Okay. Have everyone you know be able to read your thoughts, or would you rather everyone know you have access to your internet history?
To my internet history or to
correct. They can either know everything that you're thinking or they know your internet history.
Girl, if they look at my internet history, they gonna know what I'm thinking anyway. So I might as well just let them know what I'm thinking.
What's the difference?
I thought this was going to be like,
difference?
Would you prefer a cappuccino or a latte? And you're here asking like gut-punching questions.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now. If you hear what I am thinking, you're going to hear, I love your jacket. Oh my God, I love her hair. Oh my God, I love her lashes. Oh my God, he looks so cute. Oh my God, I love this outfit. Wow, that car was really fucking loud.
Yeah.
Or you're just going to hear the soundtrack to the opening credits of Sesame Street.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Playing on a loop in my fucking brain. Or The Muppet Show.
That's hilarious.
I grew up on Jim Henson, so that's what... Or Fraggle Rock. Gag, you know.
I would go with internet history, hands down.
Okay, like with the internet history thing, what? Like, you're gonna see
no shame.
How do you spell necessary?
Right. Not necessary. That's hysterical because that's one of those words when you look at it, it never looks right.
One shirt. What is it? One collar, 2 sleeves.
That's all they do.
Yeah, 1 C, 2 S's. Yeah.
Collar, 2 sleeves.
Also, shout out to the cultural appropriation queen, Gwen Stefani, for helping an entire generation of people learn to spell the word bananas.
Bananas.
And Fergie, I think, was the one who helped us spell glamorous.
GLAMOROUS. Yeah.
She also gave us one of the best renditions of...
don't you say the national anthem. Don't you say it.
I personally love.
Ew.
It is the most hilarious thing ever.
It is
just
hilarious.
Watching her go through the motions.
Oh, so it was the national anthem.
It was the national anthem.
I thought it was going to be that video of her doing... Was that her doing the cartwheels on the stage where she's like... Every time she does the cartwheel? Was
that's bizarre. I don't even know.
I don't know. It might have been Kelly Clarkson. I can't tell anymore.
Was that on the VMAs?
No, it was in like Madison Square Garden or something for the Today Show.
Literally couldn't tell you.
It was so great. Okay, so next question.
All right. Would you rather have universal respect or unlimited power?
Universal respect.
I already have both.
Because universal respect will get me unlimited power.
That's what I said.
Right.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, I would rather have universal respect. So this is kind of the similar things.
You can be powerful and nobody respects you.
Headhunters would come up to,
villain origin story. Okay, so like how many of us in the queer community identified with the evil villains because they were so queer coded for so long? Like, I don't want to be respected, bitch. I want to be feared, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, give me the power.
Yes.
Oh my God. Just have them all bowing in fear of me. Fuck it. I don't care if people respect me. I'm a faggot. I'm used to that.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a black one on top of it.
Like, I mean, I'm also really easy to spot out of a crowd, and I tend to dress a little over the top. So, like, anytime people are just like, "Boom, where's the gay guy? Oh, there he is." You know. So, yeah. Also, universal respect, even from people who like rape people and like.
For anywhere from anyone.
So, like,
you have universal respect.
If I just walked up to like Trump, for example, and he was like, "I'm a really big fan of yours," yeah, you know, I'd be like, "Well, thanks."
Yeah. I would totally go with universal respect.
Is he in prison now, by the way?
Not yet.
No. I don't think he's ever going to go to prison. What is taking so long? This man is 91.
Well, you know, Cheetos actually,
indictments.
They only go stale. They just don't start molding. So we've got time.
Maybe he'll die. Maybe he'll just have a drop dead heart attack from all those
fingers crossed.
Quarter pounder. What is he like? Quarter pounders with cheese or Big Macs or something? I know he likes something from. I know he likes Big Mac and Diet Coke.
I was in a dissociative state for 4 years whenever he was president. I don't know what that man is into. Apparently, he's into standing weird and has very tiny hands. So.
And he wears a diaper on the golf course.
Work, bitch.
You work it.
Diaper babies. Shout out to the diaper play.
You work it.
Yeah.
This is our government now. Everybody's wearing diapers.
Yeah. Well, he and Nancy Pelosi hated each other so much on the floor, and she was just pegging him behind the scenes. Yeah.
Are you getting to the next?
I am. I'm getting to it. All right. Would you rather die in 20 years with no regrets?
Give me that.
Or live to 100 with lots of regrets?
Oh, no. I need no regrets.
20.
I need no.
Yeah.
I will be 55 and just be like, I have to leave now. My planet needs me. Because, one of my favorite quotes about old age came from a very old woman. And she was like, everybody gets the same amount of youth. But growing to be really old just means that your bones get ricketier and ricketier, and all your friends slowly pass away. Although it was really funny because this character, when people would ask her like, "How did you live to be so old?" she would just tell them made up shit. So like she would say like, "Oh, I just held my farts in." And then like laugh as they wandered around the village, like trying to hold in their farts to live longer.
Yes.
Like, so that might be fun, like 100 years old with a shit ton of regrets, because like with regrets comes like learning curves. So like, I mean, I'm 35 and I have a shit ton of regrets now.
Yeah.
I lay in bed sometimes at night and I'm just like, oh God, 8th grade Martin, why did you have to do that?
Oh no.
Yeah, performing
not 8th grade Martin.
Do you look back on those things now and go, is it really a regret? Or was that the moment that it was a regret. Just needed to be a moment.
I don't
have a lot of regrets.
No, lip sync performing Anya's Sail Away in front of your entire theater class at Holland Middle School is a regret. Okay.
Oh, that's a win.
It was stunning.
That's a win. That's not a regret.
I was giving. Whenever every other kid was doing like Destiny's Child and stuff, and I was just like, sail away, sail away. Because, like,
while you were in 8th grade doing that, I was 20-something years old doing the same thing, but I was doing it in my bedroom. Sail away, sail away.
Y'all have the fantastic album that came out from Enigma that all of y'all were slow jamming to, that had sadness on it.
Yes. It was. Yes, girl.
All right, this is the last question, and it's deep. All right, so I'm gonna need you to dig deep for this.
Okay, I brought my J-Lube, so just let me get
good. Yeah, get it ready. Get it lubed up.
I've already admitted things on here that I didn't want.
Would you rather swim in a pool full of Nutella or maple syrup?
Nutella.
What?
Yes.
What?
It's the chocolate for me. It's the hazelnut chocolate for me. I'm not swimming in syrup.
Oh, I would swim in syrup.
I'm not swimming in syrup. How do you even swim in either?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you swim in Nutella? You would just sink.
You'd just be dunked into it.
Yeah. But like, you could actually, because it's too viscous, right? Like, you want something more like maple syrup. It's more fluid.
Okay, are you guys familiar with like how insects get preserved in amber?
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're here just like, I'll swim in maple syrup. It's fine. Like, as if tree sap isn't going to freeze you up.
I want them to make movies about me in a million years.
We will extract DNA from the frozen Wendy.
Can you imagine a flock of Wendy's everywhere?
Oh my God. There's already flocks of Wendy's everywhere.
Are there?
In my dreams.
That's fabulous.
I'm actually Tippy Hedren in the birds in that dream.
Oh, nice.
Was that Tippy Hedren?
Yes, that was Tippy Hedren.
Thank you.
Yes.
See, okay, this is the benefit of being like a millennial gay, is that whenever you're raised by like the Gen Xers and the Boomers who were just like, here is all this pop culture knowledge about our people that you're going to need to know.
You're going to need it.
You will never be able to relate to your peers, but thankfully, other faggots will know what the fuck you're talking about.
It's weird because I never thought about it. Gen X shared the same musical taste as Boomers.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the weirdest thing because when I thought about it, I'm like, wait a minute. So
yeah,
Tina Turner was 40-something when she turned
When she did What's Love Got to Do With It.
What's Love Got to Do With It. Mm-hmm. Then we have Mick Jagger and them. They were in their late 30s, early 40s.
Mick Jagger and David Bowie did the cover of Dancing in the Street.
Yeah, all the guys who were performing in the 60s were making huge albums in the 80s.
Yeah.
And that's what I grew up on. And I'm like, wait a minute. I grew up with the same music as my parents.
In turnaround, though, like Lady Gaga has been making music for 20 years as well. So
correct.
It's Beyonce, you know. So, but I will also say that, like, media being so much more rapidly available, and it's so much easier to get your stuff out there now. That, like, record shops being a location where you could go and get an album or two and then play it at your house, have an entire vinyl collection. Back in the day, what was playing on the radio was what you really had access to, as opposed to now where we have streaming services where you can get music from all over the globe. Tip or tat. But yeah, no. I also think that it had a lot to do with ageism. Because back in the day, people were like, so what? They're old. They're still extremely talented. So what? They're overweight. They're still extreme. Well, no, I won't say that for the 80s because people were very cocaine thin. That was that was whenever the Vaseline chic models, the heroin chic came out. You know, everybody was real slick. They were coat hangers with heads.
Wow.
I think they called it heroin chic.
It was heroin chic.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that was early 90s, wasn't it?
I don't know.
During the grunge phase?
Yeah.
That was early 90s.
It was 90s. Yeah. It was. Well, how do we feel about today, you guys? I've loved having you on, Martin. I think I love you anyway, but you were just a phenomenal guest, and I know, right? We're going to have you back.
Thank you.
We're going to have you back. Yeah, for sure.
You exude a confidence that I'm a little envious of.
Therapy.
Yes, and I'm hoping to get to, I'm hoping to reach the journey that you're reaching. I'm slowly getting there. But, I'm exhausted.
You'll get there, Joel.
I will also say that, like, the queer and trans community does this thing where they, like, any flaw that you have, you need to be 100% fucking aware of it, because they will make fun of you for it. And therefore, like, you need to be like, hell yeah, I know I got one front tooth lower than the other, bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
At least my dad loves me. Like, you know. I'm just joking. I don't have a dad. Oh my God. I don't know if you can tell that I never had a strong male influence in my life, but.
Oh my God.
I feel like you've had a strong male influence in you on several. Lots of occasions. You've been influencing a lot of other men as well. So I feel like you're doing the daddy role right.
I'm doing the lords and ladies'
work. You're doing the lord's work right.
Yeah.
And you should celebrate that.
Thank you.
Amen.
I will also say that, like, I think in the queer and trans community, just like my fairy godfathers did for me, I want to do for the next generations of babies. So, like, whenever they come to talk to me and they're just like, wait, what are you quoting right now? And I'm just like, that is from Liza with a Z.
Yeah.
Which is something that your mommies and daddies listened to, or maybe your grandparents. I don't know. When were you born? The year 2000? Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
So,
I got a Gen Zer to watch the Golden Girls. She had never seen it, never heard of it. She can't get enough. She calls me on the phone and says, girl,
it's camp.
I'm in season 4. This shit is so good.
Yeah.
How is it that something from the 80s? I'm like, because girl,
they're still relevant.
They're still relevant.
What you need to do now is show her Designing Women.
Yes, those are work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let her get through Golden Girls first. We'll move her on to. I wanted to do Designing Women first, but I felt like
Golden Girls is a nice.
First.
It's a nice.
It's a nice icebreaker.
Gateway drug.
Yeah.
It's also a T-shirt that they might run into at a thrift store.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So who is that? Why are these? Girl, that's the Golden Girls.
They were sexually active old women. Yeah, that was the whole gag of the show.
I love them.
And we're going to end this show with a little bit of a note, something that I read while I was doing a little research. Do you realize that lesbians and gay men over the age of 60 on up are having more sex now than they did in their 20s. In fact, they're having more sex than millennials and Gen Zers.
Hell yeah, they are.
Yeah.
That's one of my best customers.
I'm like...
Yep.
Oh, I have something to look forward to. Yay.
Yeah, we're liberated.
I mean, it's bad enough I had to look at the app where I saw myself in another 20 to 30 years. They have this app on.
The age one?
Yes, the age one. And all these kids are losing their shit about getting old. And I'm like, why? You're going to get there anyway.
Yeah.
Right. This is what dermatologists said you're going to look like.
Right.
It's the most accurate filter out there.
That's so funny.
And it's funny because when you see millennials and Gen Zers losing their shit because of how they're going to look. And girl, I need to use a moisturizer and I need to do this. Girl,
should have been.
You should have already been
too late. Sorry.
Yeah. Too late. You should have done that when you were 18,
Under 19. Eye cream when you're 8 years old.
Yeah, exactly, bitch.
Yeah. Yep.
If you want to look fabulous at 50. Sorry.
No, I did that filter on myself whenever I had my head shaved, and my partner said I look like what's his name? The guy who played Jean-Luc Picard.
Oh, hot.
Yeah, yeah. Earl Grey.
Yeah. What's
his name?
Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart, yeah.
Because I have a very pointy head. And that's not just the one on my neck. No, I'm joking. But yeah, no, it was a very, like, lovely, aged. But I think I can't. I know he gets botulism injected. Like, he's a little too smooth for me. I want to be Ian McKellen. I want to be old. I just want lips like Goldie Hawn. You want the Jennifer Coolidge lips?
Yeah, you look like the 4th of July.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They're bend and snap. Yeah, I love her so much. Real bad. Yes, I don't look like that.
Hi,
but,
Wendy.
Yeah. Hi. All right. I'm so good. And thank you for listening to that little gay talk show. I'm Winnie Taylor, and we've been talking with Martin.
I can't do a Jennifer Coolidge, so I'm just gonna go. I was gonna try. I want a hot dog so bad, but it just
doesn't work.
It's so terrible.
These gays.
I just want a hot dog so bad.
Makes me want a hot dog real bad.
Unfortunately, her most quoted line, which we'll find out in 20 years, was actually a Mandela effect. She never said it.
I know, right?
That's the podcast.
And that's the end of the podcast.
Bye,
we are done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe. Do whatever you're supposed to do with a podcast. We love you. Bye.